Everyone's different. What's your talents and gifting? You are unique in your own way. Don't you mind what people say? So shine your colors bright, shining brighter than ever, and live your best life and do whatever you want. So shake those haters off. You're an eagle so soar and rise above. Shine bright, show all your colors. You're not a carbon copy, so show them what you shine bright. Live a vibrant life, live vibrant with Sandra. Shine bright, show all your colors. You're not a carbon copy, so show them what you shine bright. Live a vibrant life, live vibrant with Sandra V.
Hi and welcome to Vibrant. I'm your host Sandra V, and I'm so excited that you chose to join us today. We have a great show planned and a fantastic guest here in studio. Our guest today is Tyrone Dubose. Tyrone is a R&B historian for TV One Unsung. He's also a radio host and a speaker. So help me to welcome my guest today, Tyrone. Tyrone.
Greetings and salutations. I'm so glad to be here, and thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your program. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely, and we're glad that you accepted our invitation.
Answer is always yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great. Listen, I have a series of questions I'd like to ask you. You ready?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, first question is, you are a native of Cincinnati.
Yes.
Okay. And what inspired you to branch off into the career that you did?
Well, I actually started when radio had always been something I always wanted to do as a kid. I would listen to Casey Kasem's American Top 40 when I was a kid, and that was a big influence on my life. Is that every weekend we would come on and I'd watch television, and I would watch radio or listen to radio diligently, and I loved the fact that he told stories when he was doing the countdown. It was a big deal to me, and so I always said I wanted to be that guy.
Wow. And your voice is so distinguished. Did you ever think that your voice would be so instrumental in your career?
When I was a kid, my mother used to always say that voice was going to make me a lot of money or get me in a lot of trouble. She used to always say that all the time. I didn't expect that it would happen this way, but I'm grateful that it did, because many people will always ask me all the time whether I've been to school or if I learned from someone. No, I actually didn't. It just came this way, so it kind of worked out pretty cool.
Yeah, so now I gotta ask. So she said it's gonna either get you in trouble or make you a lot of money. Did it do both, or did it do one or the other?
There's a lot of stuff I ain't able to comment on TV. It was just my publicist has kept me in check with the money and the trouble. That's just probably better to just say it that way.
I love it. So as a native of Cincinnati, I understand you're a native. What inspired you to branch off into this particular career?
When I was a kid, I would listen to American Top 40 with Casey Kasem. He was my idol as a kid. And the one thing I loved about Casey was that he would tell stories, when he was doing the countdown. And I said, as a kid, I want to be like this guy. I could listen to hours for him talking. I wouldn't even leave the house, and it'd come on. He had American Top 40 would come on 3 hours on Saturday. He'd do the first 20, and then the Sunday program went from number 20 to number 1. And I always said, that guy right there, I wanted to be like him.
Right. So now, when did your big break come?
I think we manufacture our breaks. I think being at the right place at the right time, being able to say yes. That always happened. And so After years of, doing public access television, and, I felt like I needed to do something that just belonged to me.
Got
And
it.
so I started in Barstow, of all places, at the
Oh,
highway stations.
okay.
That's right above the McDonald's in Barstow.
I did read that
Yeah.
your voice is the voice that
Yeah.
we hear coming from
And
California going into
Right.
Vegas.
So
yeah.
I used to go to work. I'd work at my regular job, and I'd get up at 4 p.m., get to the radio station at almost midnight, and I would be on the air from midnight to 6. And
Keeping people up and
keeping the people up, keeping myself awake. That's what that was. Keeping myself awake.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Wow, that's exciting. And so your voice has been on radio. I understand you do voiceovers, television, auto attendant. So tell us a little bit about that.
When you do voiceovers include anything in which people want to hear. You're the first voice, and voices are actually what keeps people's attention. People think it's the music, or people think it's other things, but the truth is, it's really your voice that keeps people's attention. And so I've learned the art of being able to say the right things the right way at the right time, where people are willing to listen, and it's a really exciting thing for me, because I didn't expect that I didn't expect this would all happen this way,
Right.
but it certainly has.
Okay. And you were mentioning earlier that your mother kind of said something about your voice. Either it was gonna what now?
It was either going to get me in, make me a lot of money, or get me in a lot of trouble. She used to always say that, and yeah, it's been it's been a little each, actually, but it's
because you know I was gonna ask you
Yeah.
which one.
I knew you would.
Which one was it more trouble or was it the other one?
Oh my God! For me, I'm gonna say, buddy, but I can guarantee you, it'd probably be a whole lot of people that would be more than happy to come here and tell you it's probably the other way.
It was
around.
trouble.
It was definitely trouble. Absolutely.
So now you're the auto attendant for many of the voicemails. And you said you've done some commercials, Ross, and different
the
ones.
Ross commercials. I actually started with some of the major Ross commercials, and some of the commercials in Las Vegas as well that you hear as you are on the radio. And I started with those as well. And different commercials for people. There are different openings of their television shows for major networks, and all of that, from just one day saying, I just want to do this.
That's something. And I love it when people know what they want to do as a young person, and so they're really pointed in that direction with everything they do. They're deliberate with that.
Everything happens, there's a sense of you try to find your way. People think that it all just works organically. The truth of the matter is, it really doesn't. You're looking for the right person to meet here, being able to say the word yes. I mean, there were so many different variables there that got me to where I am today.
Wow, that is something. And so TV Unsung, TV One Unsung, you're the R&B historian. How did that come about? What began that?
I was actually at a unsung event that was for Sly and the Family Stone. I was sitting next to this man who was asking questions about different artists, and he asked about Sly and the Family Stone, and I told him, wanted to know if he had a platinum single. I said no, he never had a platinum single, but he had the 24th and 25th biggest song in the 70s, and he said, what about the Temptations and other places? And finally I said, look, the first platinum single was Johnny Taylor, 1975.
So wait. So now this was just something you were doing as a hobby?
As a hobby.
Because you were just interested in it?
I was interested in it because when I was listening to Casey Kasem, these were the things that he always spoke about.
Right, he did.
And so when the guy said, well, who was number 2? And I said, oh, that was Kiss and Say Goodbye, the Manhattans. And the guy said, well, how do you know all this stuff? And I said, okay, let me just tell him. And, I do this show, Timeless Tracks, based on the countdown and stuff like that. He asked me if I had a card. I had a card. 2 weeks later, he calls me and then says, I'm the executive producer of Unsung, and I'd like to know if you'd be interested.
Are
in coming
you
on.
kidding me?
You never know who you're going to meet at the right time, and that's how it all began for me.
So you already had the voice. I mean, that's just natural gift that you have. But then now you prepared yourself, not knowing you were preparing yourself to just launch this huge career as a historian.
I think to some degree, I think we all kind of just know, what we want. But I think that I needed someone to help get me focused. And one of the things that helped me a lot was my publicist, because she, always kept me focused.
Uh-huh.
Because you can do 10 things,
Right.
but you got to specialize in something.
Absolutely.
And the rest of those things come around and about. And that's what I had to learn.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I love that show, Unsung, because it just really shines the spotlight on artists and people who, you know, we miss a lot of it. We see them on stage, we see their performances and all that, but we don't always know the backdrop.
Yeah, I think it's what, you know, people recognize for all of us in what we do. They see the glory, but they don't know the story.
Exactly.
And they need to know the story behind all of those things. And what you basically find out is that they're just as human as you are.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of that is missed.
Right.
When people are, you know, are doing things, they don't see that.
I agree with you because, you know, then when real life begins to happen to them, people are just like wowed, and it's like, well, you know, life is happening to them like it's happening to you
us.
and I.
Right.
And it doesn't take away from who they are or what they've accomplished. It's just life happening.
The hardest part about that show for everybody is recognizing that you are about to see truth.
Okay.
And, you know, one of the ones in which I did for someone, it was a bit of truth that was very difficult for me to do. And, but I felt as though, well, I just kind of needed to say it.
Sure.
And I thought that when I said it, that I was like, I probably should have done that. But I wound up seeing it on TV. That it was truth.
Okay.
And I've realized that these people who are doing their unsung episodes, the number one requirement for them is a requirement basically for all of us. You just got to stand in your truth, and that's what it is.
Yeah, and be transparent. Right. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to hear a little bit more about what you're doing with your career, and I want to talk about that yellow band that's on your wrist. That all right?
Absolutely.
All right. So we will be back. Going to take a quick break with Tyrone Dubose, and come back and join us. It's going to be great. Hi, it's Coach Sandra V, and I'm reaching out to just tell you the difference between having a mentor and having a life coach. A mentor is someone who usually specializes in one particular area and helps you to develop that. A life coach takes your entire life into perspective, where you are, where you want to go, and helps you map out a doable plan for you to accomplish what you'd like to accomplish. So give me a call and let's get coaching.
Are you looking for someone who can display your unique sense of style? Hi, I am Felicia Douglas with Devin Smiles Photography. I am the photographer that comes to you. Devin Smiles Photography, we specialize in stylized senior high school portraits, family photo shoots, business headshots that can be displayed on medals, canvas prints, as well as specialized gifts. We have a great person that's on board with Devin Smiles Photography, Sandra Marie.
I'm Sandra Marie, your professional image consultant with SMR's Pick. I enhance your look from natural to dramatic.
Saints, now is the time for believers to step up and engage your faith in a bold way. Kingdom Faith Apparel brings you premium shirts, headwear, and accessories displaying God's Word to engage believers and non-believers. Short, simple, and easy-to-read messages with inspirational slogans and motivational scriptures. We hope you'll find your inspiration in the many offerings presented on our website. Visit us today at www.kingdomfaithapparel.com. Peace and blessings.
Hi, and welcome back to Vibrant. I'm your host, Sandra V, and man, I'm telling you, I am having a blast here today talking with Tyrone Dubose. Tyrone has had us cracking up behind the scenes, so help me welcome him back. Tyrone, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here once again.
Yes. I am really enjoying this. So now, tell me, what is Do You Know?
Do you know, believe it or not, came from a meeting with my publicist and her daughter, Charity. We were out one day talking, and Charity said, why don't you just do a show about the little, about your, R&B history stuff? And I said, that's a great idea. And I started putting together these, vignettes or these segues, and it was based on R&B history, about the little things about R&B history, like, do you know, or did you know this part about, who was the number one, singer was in the 80s. Many people think it was Michael Jackson, but actually he was number 3. And, and I talked about, those things.
Who
and
was
I put
number 1?
Number 3 was Michael Jackson. Number 2 was Stevie Wonder.
And number 1?
They gotta watch it on YouTube.
What? Okay, I'm gonna guess, but I know you're not gonna tell me it wasn't Marvin Gaye.
Tell you. I can't tell you. But I started this, and as it went on, I did 15 of them. And they were just 2-minute vignettes, but they were really, really slickly done. They did, they went really well. And I decided to enter it in the Los Angeles Web Festival, the biggest festival in, in America.
Okay.
And my first time out, I won an award.
Wow.
And
exciting.
I said, well, I want to keep this because it's part of the R&B history thing in which I'm doing.
Sure.
And one of the things that I had to learn was that I was doing all of these things, but they didn't tie into each other.
Okay.
And I had to find a way to tie the radio, the television, the web series all into one. So I said, he's R&B historian. And it made it a lot easier because a lot of times people say I'm a music historian. No, right. I wanted to say I was an R&B historian because I wanted to say that I specialize in the history of R&B. And I think that was where people say they try to find a sense of relevance. I was looking at it as me trying to find a reinvention. Like I had to reinvent who I was. I could be 10 things, but I need to encompass it into one.
Got it.
And I think that's where that helped me a great deal.
Got it. And have you had the opportunity to meet a lot of the people that you did the research on and created the series?
Ironically enough, to some degree, I knew some of these people, to begin with. When you're in this business, you get a great opportunity to meet some of these people. And I've learned, to cherish and to preserve the history of R&B because the truth of the matter is we don't have a lot of it anymore. In fact, the last major R&B group was Boyz II Men. And people don't, know that. And that was in the 90s. We don't have a lot of male major groups, which is why old school music is so important. And that's the reason why with my radio show, I specialize with that. I don't do any rap in it, any vulgarity. I need to try to keep it all with a sense of integrity, and that's something that people are missing. It's the reason how I got on with Cheryl Underwood's radio show.
Got it. Now, I know that in meeting them and interacting with them, they had to have had a great level of appreciation for, the research you did and the work that you put together on their career, their life and their career, yes?
It's a big deal when people want to, people in any aspect of their life. Look, we all go through our periods of, when we're on top and when you hope that you're not forgotten. And, a show such as mine, even with doing it with her and with Cheryl Underwood's radio show as well, it really helps a great deal in being able to say or do it any way in which I want to. And it just works out great.
Right. Okay, and then having said that, I understand that you were surprised with the R&B Historian Award. Share that with us.
Someone called me up and asked me would I be willing to come out and give awards to some of the people who were getting awards from the Central Stars Awards in San Bernardino, California. It's an annual event in which they do where they recognize people in their particular craft.
Right.
And so they told me who they were, so I got up here and I said, Ro Brooks, he was on the Have and Have Nots. Mandel Frazier, everybody knew him. And Latrice Lawrence, a great singer. I went, this is great. I'm going to be giving you an award. And I said, I'm among friends. I went, this is great because I know these people. So I didn't really need the script. They gave me a little bit of it, but I was giving out all the awards. And so the person that was doing the awards, the person that did the awards came up and goes, now we got a special award to give to someone, and she's talking. And as she's talking, I realized she's talking about me. Wow. And she said, so R&B Historian of the Year, Tyrone Dubose. And I have to tell you,
Did you get all misty?
I was.
You get a little misty right now.
Just the thought of knowing people, whatever we do, we want to feel appreciated.
Right.
You don't do what we do always for money or for the glory. Sometimes just to know that somebody recognizes you. It was truly a great night for me, unknowing to me, but one that I will never forget that.
Beautiful. And you're there, you're among friends, you're celebrating them.
I was celebrating them.
Yeah. And
it had nothing to do with me.
For you.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with me. I was there strictly for someone else. So to know that I was amongst these people who I was a part of, and they've treated me like great friends. It was like a dream come true.
And named among them. It's wonderful, wonderful. So now this yellow band that's on your wrist, I have been looking at it the entire time. What's the significance of this yellow band?
The band says leader on it.
Okay.
A couple of years ago, Rosemary Henry was doing an event, and it was an event in Cincinnati, Ohio, in my hometown.
Okay.
And it was her organization is one who helps teenage people, teenage pregnancies, helping them provide the things in which they do, because she was a teenage mother. I was a teenage father as well, so I understood that. So I reached out to her and said, hey, it's my hometown. I'll come home and help you.
Sure.
And so I did the first one for her, and I went home recently a couple of months ago as well. She does this every year, and it was awesome. And so she was giving out these bands that said leader on it. And I'm really big on being a leader, and I like leading. And so she gave me that, and so whenever I'm on the red carpet, I always I always wear it, and of course here in this interview as well, it's just become a part of who I am.
Right, because it makes people inquire.
Absolutely.
Which brings attention to her effort.
Right.
Which is wonderful.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
So do you have any projects that you're working on that you can talk about right now?
Well, there's two. One of the things in which I just mentioned briefly was with Cheryl Underwood. Last year I met Cheryl Underwood at an event, and unknowing to me, she knew who I was, being an R&B star. And I met her years ago, and she was starting her radio show. She had just started, and it was getting bigger. And she asked me, would I be willing to do a segment on there called a 60-second moment in music history? And so she's given me a platform with 12 million people who are able to listen, and with over 200 stations. And it gives me an opportunity to talk about anything I want, whether it's country, whether it's gospel. And Cheryl has given me the platform and an opportunity of a lifetime. And so every day I'm on her show. In the first segment, where over 200 stations all over the country are listening to me do a 60-second moment in music history. I can write about anything I want. It's a dream come true.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah. And what you look for are the people who are willing to give you, the opportunity and chance, and it means everything for you.
Now, I understand also that you're a motivational speaker, and I can understand that. I mean, I can only imagine that's got to be really impactful for your audience, given your journey and knowing that there were those that made that investment in you. So, what makes you passionate about being a motivational speaker?
Because many times in life, people will find a reason not to do things.
Okay.
They know they want to do it, but they'll quickly tell you the 10 reasons why they won't.
Okay.
But they won't tell you the reasons why they should.
Okay, got it.
And I think I've learned through all of my struggles and shortcomings to make it a point to help other people in any kind of way, shape, or form, and in regard of trying to get them to recognize the reason why they should.
Right.
When part of the reason that what helped me a great deal was someone that I met on a plane. I was on my way to Cincinnati a few years ago, and I was telling her about everything that I wasn't. And she said, when you are ready to own what you were, then you're able to own you. It will no longer own you. And I got it. And when she said that, and Shayna Zink is her name, and something that we've been friends ever since.
Wow.
But that was, how we get the light bulb turns on, you get the turning point. That was a big turning point for me
that
then.
Moment,
and I got it. And now I realize that I was allowing situations and things to own me. instead of me just owning the situation. And then I was no longer putting myself on trial for everything that just wasn't right.
Right.
And then when I got by that, then I was able to move forward and then just make things happen. And now I haven't looked back since.
So Tyrone, I understand that you are very good friends with Ernest Thomas.
This dude right here, man. Ernest Thomas is actually one of my best friends.
Okay.
He is one of the things that makes Ernest so unique is that he is an American icon.
He is.
And he doesn't even know it.
How could he not? And
what makes him great is the fact of his candor, the way in which he deals with people. Everybody's a great friend. The way in which he talks to people. It's just pretty awesome. And I love Ernest dearly. He's like a brother. And one of the things is I've known him since 2010. And I had recently had cancer about a year later. And I remember him saying, there's an event. And I said, I don't know if I can make it. You got to get up. You have to get up. I don't care if that means I got to hold you and stand by you. And we've been like brothers ever since. We just sit here. We talk all night about everything, and I love Ernest. And he is, probably one of the reasons of my success. He's definitely one of the reasons of my success.
Wonderful. Yeah. So if you had just a few minutes to just speak some words of inspiration, encouragement to our audience, what would you say to them?
I'd just say really quickly, there's 3 things that I always tell people. Number 1, plan your work your plan. Nothing in life has ever worked without a plan. Whether you got a car, whether you got a job, whether you got a house, you have to have a plan. Number 2, the answer should always be yes.
Okay.
It's your dream. You gotta, be willing to say yes to everything. Yeah. You trying to get to the top of the steps. Nobody ever gets, to the top. You'll get there by the elevator, but it's a fast ride up and a fast ride down. And the number 3 thing that I always tell people, and I mean this with absolute sincerity, and it's the one thing that I believe that everybody always misses. If you're not ready for people to talk about you, you're not ready for success. What? I don't care who you are or what you do. For the rest of your life, people will always have
Wait, I need you to repeat that.
If you're not ready for people to talk about you, you're not ready for success. For the rest of your life, someone's going to have something to say about your dreams, who you are, what you do, how you've done it. If you're listening to, a few people in a world of 300 million people who are making your decisions, you're never just going to be a success. I don't care who you are. And so I've had to learn that.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I'm honored to be here. And shout out to Ernest with his big old head.
Hi, Ernest. So now you see why I came back on just laughing. I mean, Tyrone has had me in tears. And I know that you enjoyed that interview. And wow. You know what I always say. You were not created to be a carbon copy. So let your unique shine. And we will see you real soon right here on Vibrant again. Have a great day.